After the U.S. missile strikes in August of 1998, al-Qaeda was at a crossroads. Bin Laden had declared war on the United States. Al-Qaeda had carried out its first international terrorist attacks against American interests, and the United States had responded by destroying al-Qaeda's camps. Despite the destruction of al-Qaeda's training camps in Khost, al-Qaeda still views the East Africa operation a success. The attacks and their aftermath had granted al-Qaeda maximum publicity without destroying the relationship between al-Qaeda and their hosts, Taliban. Al-Qaeda was ready to start a period of expansion. Fadil Harun recalled that al-Qaeda's Shura Council called a meeting sometime after the U.S. missile strikes. In order to organize the inner organization and to gather the ranks of the youth again, and to take proper security measures in order to wage the new war, and to activate the training camps, and to put in place new security measures for the arrivals. Osama had closed the door for joining al-Qaeda and then opened it again after the East Africa operations, because many of the Ummah's youth came to Afghanistan after those operations. On November 28, 1998, Abu al-Faraj al-Libi was summoned to a top-secret meeting in Kandahar with al-Qaeda's Joint Chiefs of Staff. It was the first time that al-Qaeda used the term Joint Chiefs of Staff, indicating that some kind of reorganization had indeed taken place. Abu al-Faraj was, at the time, chief of al-Qaeda's training branch. He was asked to present at the meeting an organizational chart for the camps, a budget, and a description of the present training activities. He, too, was to present a similar report on al-Qaeda's contributions to the Taliban's front line north of Kabul. We do not know the content of the Chiefs of Staff meeting, which was scheduled for December 7th, 1998. However, it is clear that al-Qaeda was not going to be paralyzed by the missile strikes on Khost. In 1999, the Al-Faruq camp was temporarily located at the Mes Aymak copper mine in Logar. In November 1999, it was moved to a location right north of Kabul known as Murad Beg. At Murad Beg, al-Qaeda held an advanced training course known as the Cadre course. It lasted for several months, and the purpose, according to Fadil Harun, was to educate future al-Qaeda leaders. The course differed from the basic course and the tactics course in that it was open to sworn al-Qaeda members only, and the course employed about to embark upon a big training project, this time in southern Afghanistan. In spring 2000, al-Qaeda moved the Al-Faruq camp to its final location, the Gar Mabarak. Gar Mountains, some 60 kilometers northwest of Kandahar. At the same time, al-Qaeda intensified the recruitment efforts targeting the Arabian Peninsula. According to leaked U.S. intelligence information, al-Qaeda already had recruiters in Saudi Arabia and Yemen who had become active from at least 1999. The recruiters singled out candidates at mosques and public events and facilitated their travel to Kandahar. These networks probably contributed to recruiting candidates for al-Qaeda's Cadre course in Murad Beg in November 1999. At some stage, al-Qaeda must have also increased its sources of funding. Bin Laden's fourth son, Omar, had recalled that bin Laden was literally broke in 1998 and that the family barely had money to buy food. Although there are a few primary sources about al-Qaeda's funding in this period, bin Laden throughout the 1990s probably continued to use and expand on fundraising networks, especially in the Gulf region, that were established during the Afghan-Soviet War. Moreover, leaked U.S. intelligence information suggests that several of the recruits who traveled to Afghanistan in the late 1990s and early 2000s, whether to train in al-Qaeda's camps or to experience life in the Taliban Islamic State, brought personal donations with them. From mid-2000, the recruitment campaign was intensified when the charismatic Saudi Sheikh Yusuf al-Uyani started vouching for al-Qaeda. The aim of the recruitment campaign was to encourage Gulf Arabs to go to Afghanistan to receive training in al-Qaeda's camps and to experience life in a true Islamic State. Al-Qaeda was further assisted by radical Saudi scholar such as Hamid bin Ukla al-Sharabi, who from late 2000 issued fatwas in support of the Taliban regime. Despite, during 2000 and 2001, several hundred recruits would attend training in Al-Faruq. A majority of them were from the Arabian Peninsula. For example, of 126 new recruits arriving in Kandahar during August and September of 2000, 74% of them were either from Saudi Arabia or Yemen. But recruits came in to join Al-Faruq from a number of different countries. In the sample mentioned earlier, no less than 18 different countries were represented. Al-Qaeda decided to accommodate all types of recruits, including those recruited outside Al-Qaeda's own recruitment networks in the Gulf. An internal Al-Qaeda document, which is probably from 1999 or later, describes how Al-Qaeda should deal with those young men who were recruited in Afghanistan or who came to us outside of the official channels. Quote, "There is no doubt in my mind that some of them, if not all, are sincere. It is also possible to find agents among them. Generally, those seniors who are already in the field must be separated from the newcomers, even though both of them are subject to the same training program." End quote. The document goes on to describe a training scheme for the recruits. After completing the basic course, the recruits have to spend at least 2 months on the front line in order to test their sincerity and motivation. The emir of the camp must send a special report on the young men who wish to work with us, said the document. After completing service at the front line, the commander of the front must send another report on the young men. The rest of the document is missing, but it seems clear that Al-Qaeda by 2000 had not only expanded its organization, it had also expanded its role inside Afghanistan. From being a close-knit organization around bin Laden, Al-Qaeda was now acting as a services office for incoming volunteers. This created both opportunities and challenges for Al-Qaeda. As illustrated in the introduction of this book, Al-Qaeda in 2001 was a bureaucratic organization. The Office of Mujahideen Affairs, which was located next to the Haji Habash Mosque in Kandahar City, took care of the initial screening of recruits. The office registered new arrivals, collected personal items for safekeeping, and provided lodging in nearby guest houses. The office announced the start of new training courses in the Kandahar area, usually in Al-Faruq, but occasionally in more specialized camps, such as the Abu Ubaidah camp at Kandahar Airport, or a facility in Kandahar City known as the Clinic. Recruits who wanted to attend training had to register their names at the office and await approval before being shipped to the camp on a designated date. A collection of registration forms found in Afghanistan after the U.S.-led invasion in 2001 gives a snapshot of the activity in Al-Qaeda's training camps. From August 2000 to August 2001, more than 400 trainees registered for courses in Kabul and Kandahar. Some trainees are presumably registered in more than one course. On the other hand, the list of courses is most certainly incomplete, suggesting that 400 is a moderate estimate of the number of trainees attending Al-Qaeda's camps in that period. Al-Qaeda had, by mid-2000, designed a comprehensive training scheme with 3 main components. 1. Basic and advanced military training to enable recruits to fight conventional to guerrilla-type conflicts, such as on the Taliban's front lines north of Kabul. 2. Specialized courses to enable recruits to take part in revolutionary activity or international terrorism abroad. And 3. Cadre development program to strengthen al-Qaeda's own organization. The training scheme reflected how al-Qaeda by now had developed into a strong organization. It was carrying out essential tasks, such as cadre development, and non-essential tasks, such as supporting each militant group with training. The next section discusses al-Qaeda training courses in detail.